Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the devotional today, the 28th of June, 2021. I'll put the year on the end just in case we're still here next year and you're flicking back through the archives. Today, without further ado, we're going to jump into Nehemiah. We're in Nehemiah chapter 3, and it's a passage full of big words, so I'm going to bluff convincingly, and hopefully everyone will be convinced. Are you ready? Let's begin. Then Eliashib, the high priest, and the other priests started to rebuild the sheep gate. They dedicated it and set up its doors, building the wall as far as the Tower of the 100, which they dedicated, and the Tower of Hananeel. People from the town of Jericho worked next to them, and beyond them was Zaccur, son of Imri. The fish gate was built by the sons of Hassenaah. They laid up the beams, set up its doors, and installed the bolts and bars. Meremoth, son of Uriah and grandson of Hakkoz, repaired the next section of the wall. Beside him were Meshullam, son of Berechiah and grandson of Meshezabel, and then Zadok, son of Baana. Next were the people from Tekoa, though their leaders refused to work with the construction supervisors. The old gate was repaired by Joiada, son of Paseah, and Meshullam, son of Besoiada. They laid up the beams, set up the doors, and installed the bolts and bars. Next to them were Masalatiah from Gibeon, Jadam from Meronoth, and people from Gibeon, and the people from Mizpah, the headquarters of the governor of the province west of the Euphrates River. Next was Israel, son of a goldsmith by trade, who also worked on the wall. Beyond him was Hananiah, a manufacturer of perfumes. They left out a section of Jerusalem as they rebuilt the broad wall. Raphiah, son of Hur, the leader of half the district of Jerusalem, was next to them on the wall. Next, Jediah, son of Harim, repaired the wall across from his own house. And next to him was Hattush, son of Hashbaniah. Then come Malchiah, son of Harim, and Hasub, son of Pathar Moab, who repaired another section of the wall and the Tower of the Ovens. Shallum, son of Halanosh, and his daughters repaired the next section. He was the leader of the other half of the district of Jerusalem. The valley gate was repaired by the people of Zanoah, led by Hanun. They set up its doors and installed its bolts and bars. They also repaired 1,500 feet of wall to the dung gate. The dung gate was repaired by Malchiah, son of Rechab, and the leader of Beth Hakkerem district. He rebuilt it, set up its doors, and installed its bolts and bars. So, having a loose connection with the construction industry, one of the things that amazed me was how Nehemiah went from working in the king's palace to building everything. But then this was a long time ago, and the journey from Susa back to Jerusalem was many months. And I thought, if it took him that long to get back, and all he did when he got there, as we found out on Friday, was a quick reconnaissance mission to have a look, he'd have probably done an awful lot of planning. So that means that for all that time, he stayed focused on his mission. So the people have come back from Jerusalem, and he's found out the walls of Jerusalem are in a bad state, the people are in a bad state. He wants to go back, the king gives him permission, and in that long intervening period, he stays focused. So there's a bit there about delayed gratification, about staying focused on the mission that God's given you, about keeping going when life is tough, and keeping going, doing what God has commissioned you to do. But in this case, he's not even started doing what God has commissioned him to do in some ways. He spent the whole traveling journey getting ready to do it. And sometimes we get frustrated when what we think we've been asked to do doesn't happen straight away, or there are steps on the way there that have to be filled in. And so this is an example to us of, if God's asked you to do something and laid it strongly on your heart, do it. But be aware that there might be other stages in getting there as well, and that in actual fact they may be important, because all of that time was probably planning time for him. He might not have known which person was going to build which bit of wall, but he'd have been formulating ideas as to how it could happen. And then we get to today's passage, which is the actual building itself. We read here that this enormous feat was accomplished by a team. And that's kind of the powerful thing, isn't it? We read from Paul that we're like a body with many parts. And as a body with many parts, they all do their bit to keep us healthy and keep us going. They all do their bit every day without complaining, hopefully, and working properly. And here we have it on the wall. We've got all these people pulling together, doing their bit. So one chap, he's a goldsmith. He's not a stonesmith, but he's there, and he might not build as fast as everyone else. And he might not be building as the chap down the road who in actual fact makes perfume but doesn't do stonesmithing. But even the priests are out there rebuilding gates and putting up their bolts and bars. Everyone has pulled together to perform this enormous feat. And that's something we can see here as well, isn't it? Yeah, we want to have a morning devotional that benefits us all, so everyone chips in and contributes. We all take turns in leading. We all take turns in running bits, we all take turns in hosting, and most importantly, we all look out for each other at our times of prayer. And so by supporting each other and working for the greater good, we can achieve something that's really impressive. So first of all, pat on the back, everyone, well done. But also, it's really good that people do pull together. In a few weeks, we'll be thinking about, what should we do on Sunday morning? Will we stay at home in our pajamas and stay on the sofa? Or will we actually go back to church because we'll be allowed to? Because we're following the guidance, we're hoping that we will be able to soon. There's a volunteering guidebook that's come out through your notices and is on the church website at the moment. Because just like the morning devotional, the main church can only run if everyone pulls together to make it function. You saw yesterday how we had an anchor and a preacher and a worship band of 4 people, and then there was a couple of people twiddling knobs and whistles in the background to actually put it on the screen so that everyone could watch it from home. All this stuff has to happen, and most of it is done by volunteers, or at least part-timers. Oh, I mustn't forget, sorry, we also had a meeting manager downstairs as well, just keeping us all safe and making sure the building was open and working. So all of these things are done largely by volunteers, and that's what keeps us going, and that's what actually makes it work really well. So think about what you can do locally. And one of the chaps was actually said he built the wall across the road from his house, which is fantastic, and he was actually doing the mission right from his front door. There may well have been a good reason for that. It might be that that's just a bit of wall he got allocated. Possibly it's because he couldn't walk very far. So it's not a who can do the most, it's who can play our part. And if we're doing the right bit, and it's what God's asked us to do, and it's our part that we've been commissioned to do, that's the right bit. And if all it is turning up at 8 o'clock and opening the front door and then going home and going back to bed again, doesn't matter. If in actual fact it's preaching for 40 minutes on a Sunday morning and saving 1,000 lives, then it doesn't matter, because that's the bit God's given you to do. So, as we come to prayer, there's a question of what's God given you to do, but there's also an encouragement to keep going, because if God's given you a task to do, he'd like you to do it. And with that, I'm ending. Thank you.